The golden silence, the secret Jungkook carried for years. Hello, Army, in a world where every blink is captured, where fame never sleeps, and where even the smallest moment becomes global news, silence is almost extinct. But there are still a few rare souls who understand its power. Jungkook, BTS's golden magne, is one of them. He's the kind of man who doesn't speak unless it means something. A man of quiet eyes, loud passion, and actions that echo louder than any headline ever could. For years, behind the megawatt smile and thunderous applause, he held on to a truth so personal, so sacred, that he never breathed a word of it. Not to the press. Not to the cameras. Not even to us, his army. Was it heartbreak? Pain? A private war waged behind closed doors? Or maybe, just maybe, it was an act of love so deep, so raw, it had to remain silent. Today, that silence ends. And the story begins, the quiet boy from Busan before the lights, before the screaming crowds, before the world called him a star. Jungkook was just a little boy from Busan. A port city where the ocean meets the land like a lullaby, whispering dreams into the ears of quiet children. And Jungkook was a quiet child, didn't talk much. He watched. He listened. He learned. He didn't shout his dreams to the sky. But they were there, big, bright, and burning inside his chest. Bigger than Busan. Bigger than what anyone around him could understand. He wanted to sing. He wanted to move. He wanted to tell stories his mouth couldn't form, through rhythm, through melody, through something that felt like freedom. At 13, when most kids are worried about math tests and crushes, Jungkook packed his life into a small suitcase and left home. He boarded a train to Seoul alone, no promises, no guarantees. Just a dream, and a heart full of hope, and that's when the real story began, the training days. Sweat, silence, sacrifice, they call it training. But that word doesn't do it justice. It was war. A quiet, soul-draining, back-breaking war. He was a boy among older boys. Sometimes the youngest in the room. Too young to understand contracts. Too young to grasp the full weight of what was being asked of him. But old enough to want it. Badly, the practice rooms were cold. The mirrors, unforgiving. Nights bled into mornings, and mornings back into nights. Every note, every step, every breath was practiced again and again. Until it stopped hurting. Or maybe until the pain just became normal. People left. They quit. Gave up. Went home. Every time someone walked away, he wondered, am I next? But he stayed. He cried silently when no one was looking. But he stayed. He didn't tell anyone about the times he wanted to leave. Or the times he questioned his worth. Because he didn't want pity. He wanted purpose. And love, not for who he could pretend to be, but for who he really was, and so he trained. He bled. He kept going, and then BTS was born at the debut, bright lights, quiet fears. He debuted at 15.15, still a kid, still figuring out his own heart, but suddenly tasked with holding the hearts of millions, became the main vocalist. The lead dancer. The face. The youngest, they called him the Golden Magne. A title that sounded like praise but felt, sometimes, like pressure. Because when you're golden, you're not allowed to break, but he did. Quietly, while others slept, he practiced. While others celebrated, he doubted. He smiled on stage. Laughed in interviews. But alone? Alone, he asked questions number 15-year-old should have to ask. Am I good enough? What if I fail? What if they stop loving me? But still, he didn't speak because that's who he was. A boy who carried burdens so others wouldn't have to. A boy who loved so deeply he didn't want to disappoint a single soul. The secret songs, his truth in the music. Over the years, Jungkook started writing his own songs. Songs he didn't always explain. Songs that weren't made to top charts but to bleed truth. Still with you. My You. Unreleased demos that live in the corners of the internet, discovered like treasure by those who listen with their hearts. If you pay attention, you'll hear it. I miss you even when I'm with you. I smile so you don't see me cry. I love you, but I don't know how to show it. These weren't lyrics. They were love letters. From him to us. From the boy who never quite found the right words, but always knew the right notes, the silent hero, a secret unveiled in 2024, a small report surfaced from an East African charity. A child's life had been saved, surgery fully funded by a mysterious donor. The donor's alias? JK0613, IT meant nothing to most. But to Army, it was a whisper. A hint. A heartbeat, and when people dug deeper, the truth unraveled like a story written in invisible ink. Jungkook had been donating quietly for years, under aliases. In silence. No posts. No press. No PR. He funded education for Afghan refugee girls. Paid for therapy programs for struggling South Korean youth. Donated to shelters for abandoned animals. Fed homeless children in Southeast Asia. Paid medical bills. Built clean water systems. All without a single tweet. Why? Because he didn't want credit, didn't want applause, he wanted impact. The letter he never sent a former big hit staff member, now retired, once found a notebook backstage. It had no date. No name. Just a page, crumpled and stained with what looked like water, or maybe tears. It read, "Sometimes I wonder who I'd be if I wasn't Jungkook from BTS. Would you still love me? Would I still matter? But then I remember, you love me even when I say nothing. Even when I'm lost. And that love saved me." The letter was never published officially. But when it reached Army, we knew. It didn't need proof. The heart always recognizes truth. When the world found out, when the news broke, fans didn't erupt in outrage, they broke, they cried, not because he had kept it from us, but because we wished we could have held him tighter. Around the globe, candles were lit. Art was made. Hashtags trended, hashtag Golden Heart JK, hashtag the silent hero. People donated in his name. Built schools. Planted forests. Started therapy circles. All inspired by one quiet boy who once cried alone in a practice room with only his reflection for company, didn't want to be worshipped. He just wanted to be understood. The final whisper. Jungkook never told us because he didn't want us to carry the weight. He bore the silence so we could dance in the noise. He took the burden so we could feel light. It's what love looks like, and not loud. Not perfect. Just real. So the next time you see him smile on stage, remember that behind it was a boy who gave without asking, who cried without showing, who loved without needing anything back. He didn't hide the truth to deceive us, he hid it because he didn't want us to worry, because that's who he is, not just a golden voice, but a golden soul, a soul that healed quietly. A heart that carried the world and asked for nothing in return, and in the end, maybe that's what makes him extraordinary, not the fame. Not the talent. But the love, the kind that whispers, and still manages to move the world.